So Jesus was telling his disciples, as you said, Wayne, that this is something that they need to do. He also spoke to the father. He spoke to the dad. He gives the whole story. Jesus knows what's happening. He knows what's going on. I mean, there was two other little things that I wanted to mention. That Jesus, when he was teaching his disciples about fasting and giving them some heads up. Right, in Matthew chapter 6, verse 16, it says, "Moreover, when you fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily, I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou fastest, anoint thine head, and wash thy face, that thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly." So Jesus gave his disciples some instructions on the way in which they should conduct themselves in their prayer and in their fasting. And then also in Matthew chapter 9, verse 14 and a couple of verses, it says, "Then came to him the disciples of John, saying, Why do we and the Pharisees fast often, but thy disciples fast not? And Jesus said unto them, Can the children of the bridegroom mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them, and then shall they fast. No man putteth a piece of new cloth unto an old garment, for that which is put in is to fill it up. For that which is put in to fill it up taketh from the garment, and the rent is made worse. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runneth out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved." And this is kind of demonstrating the difference between the fasting of the Old Testament and the fasting of the New Testament. That there is a new way of doing things. You can't take that from the old and put it onto the new. You can't take that wine and put it into that new wine and put it into that bottle. You've got to have a new bottle. So Jesus was saying, look, I'm bringing a different way for you to live. I'm bringing about a different way for you to think. You're not going to be able to do what you used to do the way that you used to do it. So for instance, when you used to fast for strife, you can't do that anymore. When you used to fast to smite with your fists and your hands, that's not what this is about. There's going to be a spiritual dimension to this fasting that I bring to you. And it's not just going to be about your physical wants, needs and desires, but it's going to be about seeing that people are set free from the works of the devil and the works of the flesh.
Amen.
Yeah, so I brought that in. Just there is a difference, because they were saying to Jesus, John's disciples are fasting, the Pharisees are fasting, why aren't your disciples fasting?
So it's not just for religious sake. It's not.
Yes.
Religiosity.
Yeah, religiosity.
So pretty much that's what saying.
Just
Jesus,
to look good.
Yeah, you've got a ministry, Jesus.
Just to look holy.
You've got disciples and followers, but your followers are not. They're not
holy enough.
They're not righteous. They're not fasting. They're not consecrating themselves. What's the problem? But Jesus is trying to tell them. Jesus is saying to them very clearly, they will do that. When I've got to die, I'm going to be crucified, I'm going to be resurrected, and when that happens and I'm not here, that is the time that they are going to actually fast. That is the time that they're going to actually consecrate themselves. That is the time that they're going to seek my face, because this is what he's telling them. As long can the children of the bride chamber mourn, as long as the bridegroom is with them. The days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them, then shall they fast.
And I think one of the things, Simon, that you were saying about it is up to the leaders to teach, but I really don't think that as Christians, as we grow and as the years go by, that we can only rely on our leaders, because there must come a time when you've actually read the scripture. There must come a time when your hunger and thirst after righteousness supersedes that level of your leader where you begin to seek God in things like this. So you're fasting and you want to understand, well, what does it mean? And you begin to look into the words. And yes, sometimes we do have perfect words that are spoken, and the church hops onto it, but only for a while. And then it falls away because there's the next hype has come, and the next hype, and the next hype, and the next wave. And the problem that we have is that we don't continue and we're not consistent. Because going back to Isaiah 58, verse 10, in the Good News, it says, if you give food to the hungry and satisfy those who are in need, then the darkness around you will turn to the brightness of noon. So there's got to be a point in all you're doing that it becomes ever more clear why you're doing it and what are the benefits of doing it. And which then leads to even more obedience, this continuous, gradual improvement, if you like, getting better at what it is that you're doing.
I agree with what you're saying. Do you not also think?
Yeah.
I think the issue, one of the issues I think is this.
Yeah.
I agree. There is an element of teaching that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I also agree that it's probably not taught enough.
Yeah.
But to take the steps back, it's almost the case we can look at why it isn't done, but that's not what it's about so much. I think that people imitate what they see.
Yeah. And
I know that, it's like, I don't know if you remember Mother Johnson.
Yes.
She was the person that got me fasting because she held her Wednesday morning prayer and fasting group. So Robert and I would go there, and that's how we learn, or that's how I learned how to fast and what should be happening. I would study the scriptures, would pray, would talk, someone would bring a word, and I learned that in a very small environment.
Yes.
But I had to see it. No one sat me down with the scriptures and said, this is the scriptures. And I know that everybody learns differently. Some people learn by reading, some people by looking, some people by doing. So there are many different ways there are many different ways in which we can learn it. But the fact of the matter is that unless people are doing and teaching, the new generations won't see it. Because if we look at what's happening, we can say, look, everything is fast now.
Yeah.
Everything is fast. You want it? Bam, you got it. Any information you want, you use the internet. So it's there. If you want food, it's fast food. If you want to buy something, you can just click and collect. It's all instant
now.
But fasting and the benefits of fasting are not always instant. It's not always right. As soon as you fast tomorrow, you're going to get an answer. It doesn't necessarily follow.
True. That's right.
It doesn't necessarily work like that. I think that when we're looking at fasting and we're looking at leadership, people want answers and results now. And if you want to tell somebody, if you do this thing, if you fast, God will answer you. But there's that phrase that they use. It might not come now, but it's always on time.
Yeah.
People of today, unless they are really sold out for God, are not going to be patient with God. Because they're going to expect, because of the way society is, if you want it, you can have it.
Well, that's what credit cards is, isn't it? You don't have to wait anymore. Put it on the credit card, you get it now.
And then worry about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean,
but ultimately, but ultimately, yes, our ministers or those in authority, they will teach those things which they know to teach.
Yeah.
Because I think you can't. I heard somebody say something. I can't teach you something unless I've seen it myself. Unless I've experienced it, I can't really share the I can't share the emotion of it with you. I can't really speak about it with passion. I may be able to speak about it theoretically.
Yeah.
But I can't talk to you about my experiences. I can't say to you, when I fasted, God did this. Okay, unless I've done it.
Yes.
And people want authenticity. They do not want somebody to give them just theory anymore.
That's so true.
It has to be an experience that you've had.
Yeah.
Because then they can relate to experiences and desire an experience.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's almost, and an example of that is Daniel. So when was it King Nebuchadnezzar who made the decree, and Daniel said, "Look, I'm not eating that food. I need to abstain from that, and I'm going to do this. I'm not going to eat the meats or drink the wines. I'm going to just have the vegetables." And but the outshot of him doing that was that I think it was after 10 days.
I can't remember how long. But basically,
after a little time, his countenance,
they look better.
His mental ability, everything was superior.
Yeah, to those that were eating the proper meat and everything. Yeah.
Exactly, but as a result of the experience that he had, which they were watching, they changed the way in which the whole school, you could say, the diet of the whole school, because of the experience of one man and what he showed.
Amen.
So this is very similar. So if you're at a church where your leaders aren't necessarily doing the fast and saying, "Look, I've done this fast and this is the benefit of it," how are you going to know? How?
Well, I mean, I will add to this, right? What you're saying is true. It's true. It is somebody else's responsibility, but it's also your responsibility.
I think there's a big
to
but
seek
in there.
the face of God and to know God for yourself. I mean, the other part of the scripture, I won't read it, but it's Mark chapter 9, verse 14 to 29, which talks about the son, that Jesus casting out the demon out of the son. So if anybody was reading that in the last bit, if you want to go to that, it gives you a fuller version of that particular story. But definitely, Wayne, every single one of us, according to Romans chapter 12, that we all have to present our bodies a living sacrifice, holy.
That's right.
This is our reasonable service. This is something that, even if your leaders are not telling you to do things or not showing you things, Esther said, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded from the mouth of God." This is what Jesus was telling the devil. I don't just feed myself with food and drinks. I live by the word of God, and that's an encouragement for all of us.
And I think, Wayne, what you were saying about Daniel and the fact that the fast he put himself on had an outward show is hand in hand with what we read in Isaiah 58. Because God says, "I will always guide you and satisfy you with good things. I will keep you strong and well. You will be like a garden that has plenty of water, like a spring of water that never runs dry." That is the outward evidence of our rightful fast in the presence of God.
Amen.
That's what it should be producing.
I think that
Sorry, just to say, after Simon's point, Wayne, we got to close because me and Esther have got to run. But we'll come back, of course, with this topic. We'll continue this topic because we're just getting. We lost track of the time because a whole hour went by and I didn't even realise. Yeah. So the time was really good. So we're looking forward to coming back. But I think Simon will come on and then you come back in. But go ahead.
How this is stirring me up. How this is stirring me up is because I've been in church my whole life. And I've been in church and I've seen situations where you have a huge amount of people coming in and then you have the same huge amount of people going out. And somebody might say, they just weren't serious about God. They just weren't serious. But there was a book and the book was called Saved Right. Saved Right. And basically we know that in the Word, it's meant to be people get saved and then people go through discipleship. That's what it says in the word, that we should
Teach them.
teach and make disciples of men and be so what does the discipleship mean? So if those things don't happen well, we end up struggling. We end up people being in church and then they're not there a month later or 6 months later, they're not there. So for me, one of my burdens always is teaching. I fully receive and I fully accept that we as individual people should take that upon ourselves and be accountable. That we do, because we got the word there. The word is there to show us. But for me, each of the different ministry heads, whether you're prophet, pastors,
They've got a responsibility.
whatever, and if those people with those responsibilities do what they're meant to do at the right level, and they do it and they're in tune with God, then there will be a huge positive impact on the body.
Yes.
Sometimes we see impoverished churches with impoverished members that look like they're not getting any good substance.
Nothing
It's
spiritual.
a struggle. And in some churches they are. They definitely are. But so for me that's one of the contexts. But definitely when it comes to fasting, it is an important thing. And I think that if it is so important that people, teachers and pastors and leaders, they should be at a place where they can be teaching that, and then people can be taking that on board, that teaching, go into their own chambers and be like, right, let me jump on with, let me move on with this. If the leaders and so forth never go there, never talk about it, and make finance be the big subject, money, and all these other things are the big subjects, but fasting is, sorry guys, I know you guys have gone with this. And the last thing I want to say is when it says, and nothing shall be impossible unto you.
Amen.
At the end of verse 20. And for me, I love the way that it's said there, and then moves on to say, albeit. There's this next level, so it's like nothing will be impossible to you. But
however,
there's this other level, just like at with Corinthians 12, when it says, do the right thing, but I want to show you a more perfect way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So to me, that they link when it's like nothing will be impossible. If you fast right, nothing will be impossible to you.
Let's say it really.
I'm getting excited now. I want to go.
No, but we'll always come back with another. We will have to come back with an additional part to this, because that part about why and what the result of things not being possible to you. That, for instance, when we talked about have we really given our food to the poor and have we done those sorts of things, those things won't be impossible to us. We should be able to get on and do those things. Yeah, those are the we need to look at. We need to look into that. If he was telling them that in Isaiah to say you need to actually do something, and it's obvious that people didn't really know what he was talking about. The people didn't understand what Isaiah was expressing. But we will definitely come back with that. But I don't know if you want to close out with anything, Wayne, but we will come back with a part 2.
There's loads of stuff in relation to fasting that, as you quite rightly say, we need to cover.
So this is just an opening, really, isn't it? Really?
Yes. So what the interesting thing is that from my learning is just, we need to fast. God has a correct way of fasting.
Yes.
And we need to tap into that correct way to get the right results. Firstly, we cannot fast based on our own impression of fasting.
Yep.
God is flexible.
Amen.
And he understands if we cannot do one of the biblical fasts that we need to talk about. He understands if we sacrifice something else instead of the food.
That's right.
Because it's about our heart condition. So trust God to lead us into the fast.
Yep.
We need to make sure our heart condition is right before we fast, during the fast, and after the fast, to see the move of God.
Amen.
Generally. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to continuing this discussion. I'm really looking forward to it.
No, Wayne, I'm really
Thank
looking
you,
forward to it more. You're looking forward to it a lot. I'm looking more. I'm more than that.
It's only time that failed us this time round, but we will come back and we will continue this message on fasting. God bless you. Speak to you all later.
Bless you, Wayne. Have a great week.
Stay blessed.